All right, we started a series just a few weeks ago called "The Battle I Can't See," and this is all about kind of looking at the spiritual reality that the Bible is going to talk about. That's really, again, it's hard to even acknowledge or understand all of what's happening because it's invisible to us, right? So there's a spiritual battle or war that the Bible kind of talks about and assumes, and we have to discover that battle and understand it for us to make sense of it. And we started talking about this a few weeks ago, and we talked about our relationship with God and what it means to be strong in the Lord. And we said that one of the things that we said was that when we're strong in the Lord, it's a refusal to partner with evil. That when we follow Jesus, when we say yes to him and say yes to believing the things that show up in his word, what I'm doing is I'm not just joining a religion or kind of trying to be a good person. I'm actually rebelling against evil, right? The evil that shows up in our world, and I'm taking a stand on the side of what is right and good, that which is helpful and beneficial and leads to peace and life in the people that say yes to it. So if you missed those conversations over the last several weeks, I encourage you to catch up online. You can do that at a YouTube channel if you want. And then Kevin walked us through last week kind of what the armor of God is, how we can protect ourselves spiritually, and God equips us for that. And then today what we're going to do is we're going to advance the conversation, and I'm going to open up kind of a paradigm of how to think about this from the scriptures, and then we're going to try to get practical with it and understand how does this actually show up in my life and in my decisions, and what does it do not just to me, but to the people who maybe follow after me, to generations potentially, that if I understand what's happening spiritually in this battle that I can't see, there's actually a lot of kind of downstream ramifications to all that. And so today what we're going to do is talk about the reality of what the Bible is going to call strongholds, and we're going to explain what those are, what they mean, how to break them, and try to help kind of lead us into and understand how all this plays out for us spiritually. Here's what I'll say. If you can get a hold of even a fraction of what we're talking about today, this is where an enormous amount of life change and transformation happens. It's in this realm and this part of the conversation. So there's all kinds of parts of course, of truth that matter a ton. This one can really unlock an enormous amount of life change and transformation. That's been true in my life, continues to be, and I think can be true, of course, in yours as well. So let's dive into it. We're going to be in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Let's look at these few verses. The Apostle Paul, leader in the early church, is going to say this. He says, "For though we live in the world," right, so that we're here in the world, "we do not wage war as the world does." It says, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of this world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." And so Paul, what he's going to do here is he's going to draw this analogy, this connection to something that would have made sense to the people of the time. He uses this word strongholds, or other translations are going to say, fortresses, same idea, is that what they would have had is this picture in their mind of kind of a castle set of walls, where cities would be divided by these massive walls or these strongholds, these fortresses that would separate people from each other. And if you're on the offense, you want to break through that stronghold. If you're on defense, you want to kind of hide behind it. And here he's going to use this picture in a kind of unique way, and he's going to say that we want to wage war, but not the way that you would think of, not the way that the world does. Even though we live in the world, he's going to say, we don't wage war like the world does with actual, with violence, physical violence. So it's not a war of bullets and guns and bombs and arrows. It's going to be a spiritual war like we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. And then what he's going to do is going to help us to see that there are these kind of strongholds that we would find ourselves in, and what he's going to describe these strongholds as is a set of lies that are going to be constructed by the evil one, a set of lies that are constructed by the evil one. And this stronghold isn't to protect us, it's actually to enslave us. It's to trap us into a set of deceptions. In fact, here I put this little definition here on your in your kind of on the screen. It says spiritual strongholds are carefully constructed lies. Okay, so this is by the spiritual forces of evil, by the enemy, Satan. When these lies are believed, they trap people into destructive thinking or living, blocking them from the freedom that comes with believing the truth. This is the idea, is that we experience these strongholds, and here's the reality, is that God is calling us to freedom. What he loves and longs for us to enjoy is the freedom of enjoying him and his ways, which are outside of some of this deception. And this stronghold keeps us from accessing that freedom. And what Paul's going to say is, he's going to assume that we know some of this because we're kind of jumping in the middle of the story, that God has done some things, that what God has done is he has, in essence, invaded that stronghold through Christ. When Jesus came, he came to set captives free and bring freedom to us, and he came to bring us truth. He came to bring us truth. And truth is going to be a massive weapon that if we take hold of it, if we use it, it can blow open this stronghold or this set of lies that tends to entrap or ensnare us. And here's the thing, all of us are going to have these. This isn't like, oh yeah, man, some people have these strongholds and there's just things in people's life. The reality is we're baked into a set, we're born, our society is kind of tells us these realities all the time, and so they're all around us, and we almost can't even see them because it's kind of like the air we breathe. It's so natural, and the only way to get a hold of this is to grab hold of truth, use that truth, and watch the truth break open some of these constructs of lies. And you're like, Ryan, what are the lies we're talking about? Don't worry, we're going to get into it. We'll put some skin on it. I just want to make sure we understand where this is coming from and how kind of the picture works. What God is wanting for us to have happen, again, is to see the truth like a battering ram break through that stronghold, break through the lie, in order that I might find my way to freedom more and more. That's the idea. Okay? Now, I want us to see that the author of these lies, we hit this a few weeks ago, but he's talking to actually a group of religious leaders at the time. He's not talking to us. Jesus isn't in this verse. When he says, you belong to your father, the devil, he's, again, talking to those who are not able to grab hold of the truth at this point, religious leaders of the day. He says, you belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. Speaking of Satan, he says, he was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and a father of lies. He's the one that originated or fathered lies. He gave birth to them. And he's saying he's the one that does this. He's the one that is his desire. Elsewhere in Scripture, we know this, that he is to steal, kill, and destroy, to kind of entrap and ensnare people, because what the enemy does not want is for us to be able to have a relationship with God and the freedom that comes with that. That is what the enemy is doing. That's the whole essence of this battle that we're talking about. It's not a battle against people. It's not against flesh and blood. We talked about it a few weeks ago. It's actually against these spiritual realities that show up in the heavenly realm. Now, let's start to talk about some examples of what this can look like, how this shows up, especially in our culture. These aren't all of them. I just want to give some examples of what this could look like. And here's a few, of course, that come to mind. Example of a stronghold would be this, that I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone. I'm good. So here's what will tend to happen. Here's what tends to happen in a lot of our lives. It's pretty typical in our lives in a broken world for us to depend or rely on people in our life, parents or coaches or people that should be able to be trusted. And if you have the kind of story where you trusted some people that should be trustworthy and you found that they weren't trustworthy, you might draw a conclusion that says, I can't trust anyone. You know what? I don't need anybody else. I can only kind of trust and rely on me. Right? I can only trust and rely on. And you might land in that place where you make that determination. And here's the thing. When I believe that, when I lock into that set of lies because that's been my experience in my life, what happens is I'm cut off from the reality of what God wants for me, that we are made for relationship. We are made to relate to each other, and we are made to relate to God. It's one of the reasons we're on the planet. And so what will happen is if I make that conclusion, all the help that could be found out here, if I had a mentor, if I had a friend, if somebody else could bear my burden, if I could open up and be honest about some of the things that I'm struggling with in my life, none of that help is able to be accessed. Why? Because I only need me. I can only trust me. I don't need anybody else. You see the power of what that lie does. What the truth will do, if I grab hold of it, I'm made for relationship, is it would blow that barrier up, and now I can begin to access more and more of what God made me to be able to access. Now I've got the ability to grab hold of this path towards freedom. Here's another one. My value comes from what I accomplish. My value comes from what I accomplish. As I know, a lot of us are going to struggle with this one. I struggle with it too. Both of these. Here's how this works. Because most of the time in a fallen, broken world, we are valued by what we bring to the table. Unconditional love is not the normal response in human relationships in a broken world. What's the normal response? Well, what do you have to offer me? So because that's how it tends to work, we tend to draw the conclusion that my value comes when I can bring something to the table. So if I can provide, if I can perform, if I do enough stuff at church, if I work hard enough, if I get enough promotions, if I get enough education, right? My value comes from what I accomplish. If that's the case, then what's going to happen is I'm going to be blocked from the reality that there's an identity, right, and a value that comes from Christ, not from my performance. And that is shut off to me. I can't grab hold of it. Jesus would look at you and I and say, if you believe in me, if you have faith in my name, then there's all kinds of things that are true of you that you literally can't earn. You can't be good enough. You can't produce enough value. But all of this is true, and you can grab hold of it if you get rid of the lie that you got to perform your way to it. Accept the truth that it's only given to you by a gift, by receiving me. And that's actually the path towards freedom. Do you see how the enemy might want to look at your situation or mine and say, you know what, I don't really want them to grab hold of the fact that they have an identity that's gifted to them. I want to keep them in chase mode, desperate mode, to try to earn approval and chasing that which has been freely given to me by God. Here's another one. The goal of life is to be comfortable. The goal of life is to be comfortable. There's maybe few lies more detrimental than that one. In fact, this one can be absolutely devastating. Like, Ryan, well, that's extreme, man. Why is it just want to be comfortable? It's not that big of a deal. Here's why this is such a big deal. Life on this earth, life on planet Earth, right, during our little time on the planet, the Bible's going to call it a mist or a vapor. It's not forever. It's short. Okay? And then the reality is, in this little mist, God's going to say, here's some things that I need you to know, and I want you to find and grab hold of in your little bit of time, in this little mist, in this little window. What I want to do is I want you to understand what my son did for you, that he came here to rescue you and save you. I want you to understand that you can help other people find that message too. You can find it for yourself, and then you can help other people find it as well. And there's a window of time where that's possible, and then there's eternity where that's not possible anymore. This little time and space There's some things that are true and real, and forever, if I say yes to Jesus, I'm going to be able to enjoy a comfort that is unlimited, that has no sin in it, where there's no death or dying or cancer or pain or grief. If I'm chasing a comfortable life here on earth, here's the problem with it. It's not possible. It's not possible. You're saying, Ryan, I think it's possible. I've got comfort all the time. You know what else you have? You got pain. You have pain all the time. Here's the thing. If you follow Jesus, you're going to have pain. If you don't follow Jesus, you're going to have pain. If you, no matter what you do on this side of the planet, you're like, this is an exciting message, Ryan. Thank you, right? If you follow Jesus on this side of heaven, what's going to happen is you're going to have some pain to that. You're also going to have joy and peace and supernatural purpose, okay, if you follow Christ. If you don't, you're going to have the pain of normal life, of loss and sickness and death, and you're going to wonder what you're made for, and you're going to deal with shame that can't be extinguished by any good deeds. Here's the reality. A comfortable life this side of heaven is not possible. Here's what we're made for. Jesus calls us to purpose and sacrifice and mission. Okay, that's the reality of what we're invited into in this mist. It's not forever, it's now. And listen, and we're allowed to have little pockets of comfort along the way. It's not like it's all suffering all the time. I mean, come on, how about that bacon out there? Right? That was awesome. Wasn't that great? That's what I'm talking about. I mean, there's a lot of things to get excited about. Bacon's good. Right? You're allowed to have some bacon. Right? You're allowed to have some little pockets and windows of some comfort. Here's the thing, it's just not the goal. It's not the goal. I just want to be comfortable. You are locked into a lie. You are locked. You can't be comfortable. This little window is going to end. It either ends today or it ends in a while from today. And the truth is, the mission that Jesus has called me to, if I engage that and I embrace that, the results of that are eternal. I'm going to be able to enjoy Jesus and his presence forever. And I actually get to invite other people onto that journey with me. I can't save anybody. You can't either. But we can invite people to be saved by him. That's what I get to do in the mist, okay? In the little vapor, the window. The goal of life is not to be comfortable. It's to engage his mission. Here's another one. If I can just get financially secure, then I'll be okay. Man, I've heard this one a lot. Man, it's so tempting. It's so tempting to think this way. You know what? If I can just give the next 10, 15 years, 5 years, 20 years, and I can get my finances arranged, then I'll do all the important stuff. Then I'll be good to go. And the hard part about that reality is, we don't know how many days we're given. Tomorrow is not promised. Even if I got all my finances arranged, there's no guarantee that I could keep them arranged. And the whole point of life is not to have financial security, it's to have security in Jesus, to find that he is my provider. And trusting in him is the whole point of the whole thing, right? Here's another one. Don't commit to anything, keep every option open. Right? There's some stages in life where this is very tempting to think. I don't want to commit to anything because maybe I'm going to miss some options out here, right? I don't know if I'm going to commit to the girlfriend or boyfriend where obviously we have a healthy thing going. I'm not sure if we should engage in marriage because maybe something else is going to come. I don't know if I should commit to this job because maybe there's another. I don't know if I should commit to this church because maybe there's another church right down the street. Here's the reality. Growth happens through commitment. It happens through commitment. It's actually in showing up and locking into something, at least for a while. Right? Some things don't last forever. Marriage is forever, one lifelong. But I might look and say, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here. Guys, communities don't get built. Families don't get built. Churches don't get built unless somebody makes a decision to say, hey, I'm in. I'm actually going to be in. Right? Instead of, I'm going to be a connoisseur. Right? I'm a church connoisseur, man. I go here some weeks and there some weeks, and hey, you get to be on the rotation, though. I float in here sometimes. What is that kind of mindset? I got to look and say, I'm actually going to be in. I'm going to be in somewhere and show up and watch God move. Here's another one. I've done too much damage. Some of us are in the room, and we're walking through this set of strongholds, and you're like, guilty, did that one, did 5 more. I've done all the things. Ryan, I think I've done too much damage. I'm not sure God can use me. I've been addicted. I've had premarital sex. I've been divorced. I've gone so far down this road. I've done so much damage and wreckage that I'm not sure I can be redeemed or be used by God. And here's the reality. Redemption is what the gospel is all about. The whole purpose is that God moved toward the people that were trapped and enslaved and doing damaging things. That's the whole point. That he came to be with us in the middle of our wreckage and our mess. And what he longs to do is he looks at us and says, I came to save, I came for the sick, not the healthy. I came for those who know they're in need. I came for those who know they went too far. I came for those who are brokenhearted about their sin. Listen, if that's where you are, if you're sitting here thinking, right, I don't think this is for me, man. I don't think freedom is for me. I think I've done too much damage. I need you to hear me loud and clear. You can be, and you are, if you're a follower of Jesus, be forgiven. Not just for the surface level stuff. For not just for the best day, for the worst day. For the ugliest. For the most life-altering. For the wreckage. I need you to hear me. He sees you and knows you on your ugliest, worst day. The most damaging and nuclear decisions that you've ever made. And he said, I'll die for that. I love you enough to lay down my life and my innocent and pure blood to die for your most ugly, wretched, sinful day. Can you hear me? That's the gospel. Why would he do that? I don't know. But that's what he did. That's what he did for me. His salvation and his sacrifice wasn't a surface level. It was the whole thing. That he would lay down all of himself for all of me. That is the truth. And when I grab hold of it, I can realize that there's freedom here that I'm no longer identified by my decisions. I'm identified by what Jesus has called me, that I'm a child of God today. That I'm not a sinner, I'm a saint who sins. That I'm a member of the family who still doesn't act like a member of the family sometimes. That my body is now a temple of God, even though I have abused it or used it or been harmful with it to others, sinned with it. Your body is a temple of God. Ryan, I don't feel like that's true. Believe it. Do you believe? Right, if you know where I've been, there's been too much damage. Would you be willing to blow that up by grabbing hold of the truth and watching the stronghold explode in your life? That's why Jesus would say, man, like, just be like a little child. Just believe. Believe me. Believe me. This is what I said about you. Do you believe it? Here's another. Everything depends on me. It's all on my shoulders. The weight of the world is, if I don't keep it together, and there's a reality that we have to steward what God has given us, but his power is made strong in us. In our weakness, he is strong. And the reality is, when we come to the end of ourselves, when we come to the end of our resources, we come to the beginning of his. It doesn't all depend on you. You know what God's going to do with or without me and you? He's going to keep running the universe. God doesn't need me, doesn't need you, doesn't need me to lead this church. He's going to build the church. He's the head of the church, not me. He's the head of your family, not you, dads. And when I can walk in that strength, I can live out my role without being crushed by the weight of it. Is the weight real? It's absolutely real. Sometimes it feels crushing. It's just not all on me. It's not all on you. Here's the last one. My life can't matter. My life can't matter. Here's the reality is you and I are God's workmanship. He's created a masterpiece of redemption through your story and mine. And I can look and say, you know what? This isn't for people like me. My life, we don't come from this kind of story. Where I come from and where my people are from, and what's normal to me is life here in the stronghold. We're people that have, it's not like we're cursed. It's like this is normal to all, it's normal to see manipulation and dysfunction and life-altering decisions that blows everybody up. And that's what's normal. How can God make much of my life? How can he make much of himself in and through me? My life doesn't make any real difference. So who cares if I just kind of go off the rails here? Nothing could be further from the truth. Jesus chose to die for you. Hear me. Jesus chose to die for you. For you. Let it sit. Feel that. He came and he chose to die for you. For me. And guys, we could go on and on. And some of our strongholds sound more like this. I'm dumb. I'll never amount to anything. I'm a loser. I am the abuse that I experienced. Whatever conclusions you drew, if you let that sink into your norm, it becomes the reality, and it blocks us from this, from the freedom that comes in Christ. Say, Ryan, what do we do with this? I just want to walk us through. I want to walk us through this kind of the steps and the process. At one level, the reality is that all I have to do is take hold of this, but how do I do it? Here's the first thing we want to do is this. I want to run towards the truth. I want to run toward the truth. I would love it if we permanently saw the truth of Scripture differently. That getting information and access to the Bible wasn't about being a good Christian and checking some boxes. It wasn't about doing some good stuff, being a good person. It was about finding the weapons that will blow up the lies in my life. It was about understanding who this God is who wants me to be free. It's the way that we do this. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I was saying before I was a follower of Jesus, let's say on this table, I had all this mound of opinions and thoughts about life from my experiences mostly, right? And I would have had some experiences and I would have drawn some conclusions and I would have looked and said, man, I don't know. I looked around at marriages in my life and I would have drawn the conclusion, I'm not sure I believe in marriage. I don't think I've seen it work. I would have drawn some conclusions and said, I think I have to depend and rely on me. Like we were talking about earlier. I would have drawn some conclusions about all kinds of stuff and I had this mound of opinions. And then I came to know Jesus and I started to realize, wait a minute, and I looked at my mound, my pile of opinions there, and I said, I don't know what I believe about any of that. Because if this is true, then what has to happen is I had to clear the whole table, clear it off, and say, I don't know what I believe. People would ask me, Ryan, what do you believe about that? I'd say, I don't know. I have to figure out what God said about it, and then I'll know what to believe about it. Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't have said it in this language, I'm pretty sure I'm just trapped in my own kind of construct here that I adopted, that was fed to me, that I was baked in, that my society told me, that was normal to the people around me, right? And it's none of their fault. They're all in the same situation too. But the only way out is through. The only way out's through. I've got to grab hold of this truth and run to it. Listen to what Jesus said. I want us to hear this. John 8. He says, if you hold to my teaching, you're really my disciples. If you hold to my teaching, you're really my disciples. Listen, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free or will make you free. And I know that how we hear the word know is we hear it like this. Oh, Ryan, I know that information. I've heard that before. In fact, I knew that verse before when you started to pull it up. I've heard that. I knew it. I've read that in the Bible before. This kind of knowing is not the kind of knowing that just grabs a factoid out here, some intellectual information out here. Like Abe Lincoln lived. That's great. That's wonderful. I know that information. That's not what the Bible's talking about. The Bible is going to look at us and say, when you know something, you've experienced it. You have lived in it. You have depth in it. It's the kind of knowledge that happens when I know someone deeply, when I have lived in it personally. And this is what Jesus is saying. When you experience the truth will make you free. When you experience the truth that you're a child of God, when you experience the truth that you are not dumb, you are not you're not too far gone, that this life is not about being comfortable, it's not just for you only live once. That's not true. It's not true that you only live once. You have a mist and you're going to live eternally. That's truth. That's truth. And what I do in the little mist matters a lot. It matters a lot because what Jesus did matters a lot. And what I do with what Jesus did, how I point to what Jesus did matters a lot. I want to run to truth. I want to name the lies. As I start to run to truth, I start to see that truth is going to help me see the reality of this. It's going to illustrate, wait a minute, why do I believe that? Where did that come from? Who said? Who said that's not possible in my life? Who said a healthy marriage or a healthy family isn't possible in my life? Who said I can't be forgiven? Who said? Well, he said. The enemy said. The one who wants to destroy you said. What about the one who said truth to me? What about the one who laid down his life for me? I want to name the lies. This is what I believed. I want to grab hold of the fact that I have believed that which is not true. And I want to confess that. I want to confess the truth. Confession is both stating or recognizing or agreeing with God about both what is positive and negative with me. It's aligning myself with God. God, I confess that I have sinned against you, and I confess that what you said about me is true. You said I'm a child, I'm your child. I believe that. That's a confession. You said I'm forgiven. That's a confession. I want to grab hold of that. You are the one that created marriage. I want to confess the truth in my life. And that's how we exercise it. Here's the reality. Because we have to, because many of us, myself included, have spent decades, years, operating within the confines of this stronghold. What we have to do in order to grab hold of the truth, I have to know it, to experience it. I have to practice it. I have to practice it. I have to read it again and again and practice and see it show up in my life. When I run into circumstances, I've got to run back to the truth over and over again. This is why I might memorize it, right? Not to show off with information or no. It's because I need it to be lived in, to be experienced. I got to grab hold of it, and I have to confess it. This is why Paul's going to say this. We take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. We take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. What I want to do is I want to take these thoughts that I'm having, and I want to make a hostage out of them. Right? The lies that are being spoken to me, I grab that and I make it a captive, and I make it submit to Jesus. No, that's false. See, the thing is, it's not neutral. It's trying to hurt you. It's trying to lie to you. It's trying to steal from you. I'm going to take that thought. I'm going to make it captive to Jesus. No, Jesus said this about me. This is truth. This is real. Can I grab hold of the reality of what Jesus has spoken over my life? Here's where let me just take this last piece, then we'll wrap up. The reality is, these things can last for generations. We might be raised in some strongholds of belief that last generations, where it's normal that lies are a part of our culture, or violence, or manipulation, or adultery, or addiction. We might live for generations in the assumption that my life will not amount to very much, and that there's not much Jesus could do with it. He could rise from the dead, but he can't do much with my life. And the reality is, in our little mist, our little vapor that is our life, we have a shot to blow these up. And I want you to see the value of what this does to the people around you. Dads, our work, I want you to hear it. Our work is aggressive. It's the aggressive destruction of the strongholds that have been placed around us for the sake of our children, if nothing else. Do you want to gift your kids freedom, or do you want them to inherit the trap that you were raised in and baked in? So you and I have to choose, do I want to wage war with Christ on the lies in my life? And that's literally the battle that it is. It's a raging war that I'm in the midst of. Jesus has won it. I walk in it. And this is the part where you and I are engaged, that I've got to decide, do I use the weapons that Jesus has provided for me to take hold of, or I just coast? You want to be a generation changer, a cycle breaker? This is the work that you and I are called to. When I look at my life, I say thank you to Jesus that he's told me the truth, and I could find some cycles to get blown up in my short days here on earth. And man, if I can, I'm going to get as far as I can and break as many of these as possible to try to gift my kids as much freedom as I possibly can, and to help you walk in it, of course, as well. That's our question. Will you wage war on the lie? Will you grab hold of the truth? Because at the end of the day, there are people they'll figure out, whether your friends or your family or the people that are impacted by your life, your children living around, when you do this, you give everybody permission to walk in that freedom. What you're saying to the people around you is, you don't have to live like this anymore. You don't have to be like that anymore. See? Jesus has changed me. He can change you. See, he can set me free. He can set you free. We don't have to be trapped in this anymore. Why? He is the author and perfecter of my faith, the one who is bringing salvation to my soul. And when you know the truth, when you experience the truth will make you free. This is the battle that we can't see. The question is, will we fight it? Standing on Christ and his victory. Engaging with the weapons that he's gifted us to fight with. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes as the band comes out? Father, today we just confess our need for you. Lord, I confess today that I can't do what I just said without your help and your power and your strength in my life. None of us can. Lord, I pray that your power, the power of your Spirit, would explode in everyone who can hear my voice right now. Lord, that you would give us boldness. You tell us in your word that the righteous are as bold as a lion. God, would you give us boldness to say, no more will I live in deception. I won't accept the norms that I've been given. I will only grab hold of the realities that you died to give me, Jesus. Help me to do that more and more. Help me to believe. Help me to believe that sobriety is possible, that health is possible, that advancement is possible in your kingdom, that breakthrough is possible, that love is possible, that I don't have to live in unforgiveness and bitterness and hate. God, would you work in us in such a way that we look more and more like you, Jesus? I pray for each one, your hand and your blessing and your power upon us, that we might bring glory to your name, and we might experience the freedom and the joy that comes from knowing you. Meet us here, Lord. even now.